Have you ever loved someone who kept pulling away? Someone who disappeared when you needed them most only to come back just when you were starting to move on? Hi, I'm Jim Rohn, and in today's video, we're diving deep into a psychological pattern that surprises far too many people. Avoidants almost always come back, and no, it's not because they've changed. We're going to unpack why avoidants push you away in the first place, why they retreat, not because they feel too little, but because they feel too much, and why, once you've healed, they suddenly feel the urge to return. This isn't about giving false hope. This is your warning and your roadmap so you never again get caught in the exhausting loop of emotional withdrawal and reattachment. If you've ever felt shocked, confused, or emotionally whiplashed by an avoidant partner's return, stick around until the end. Because knowing the script gives you the power to write your own ending. And if you see yourself in this journey, don't forget to subscribe. I'm here every week to help you heal, reclaim your self-worth, and love like someone who's done the work. When you're in love with someone with avoidant attachment, a painful reality often unfolds. They withdraw. They pull back, not because they don't care, but because they feel emotionally overwhelmed, unable to meet the needs you pose. It happens subtly. Texts slow down, calls become distant, plans vanish without explanation. And you, who have been sharing your love openly, begin to realize that all you want is their presence, yet to them it feels like a burden, even a threat to their autonomy. In that moment of withdrawal, they may feel relief, like being released from a bag pressed tight with unnamed emotions. No longer pressured to explain, no longer forced to respond. It seems freeing. But that relief is not healing. It's evidence that they are suppressing feelings, not processing them. They don't yet know how to do emotional work. They only know how to bury discomfort. You, because you love them deeply, might question yourself. Was I asking too much? Am I too sensitive? Too attached? This self-doubt becomes the most painful trap. It makes you think you're the problem, that loving hard is wrong. But here's the truth. It's not about you. You are simply a human with basic emotional needs. To be seen, to be heard, to be loved. The avoidant partner, however, hasn't matured enough to meet that need with calm acceptance rather than retreat. What matters most now is recognizing this. When an avoidant withdraws, they're not seeking peace, they're seeking escape. And if you chase after them, you're entering a race you can't win. You'll forever be the one who pursues, while they hold the choice to disappear. Their withdrawal isn't a call for more effort from you, a door they walk through, to flee from their own emotional discomfort. That's exactly when you need to stand firm in self-respect. It takes courage to say, I will not follow your fears. The distance you maintain isn't punishment, it's protection for the person you're rebuilding. You deserve a love that doesn't make you question yourself. A love that honors your boundaries not because you demand it, but because you see your own worth. After that initial withdrawal, the avoidant enters what looks like a phase of freedom, but it's actually freedom with missing pieces. They say things like, I'm okay now. I just need some space, or I need to focus on myself. And on the surface, they seem to be thriving, roaming with hobbies, achieving goals, socializing, maybe even dating. But beneath those words lies a fragile shield hiding something deeper, a void of emotional connection they're unwilling to face. Initially, they throw themselves into work, hobbies, friends feeding the narrative that they're better off alone. They might begin casual conversations or even romantic flings, but all of it remains superficial, carefully curated to avoid real intimacy. If someone edges too close, the walls go back up, texts get cold again, plans vanish. They pull away, maintaining that emotional distance. To an outsider, they appear at peace, charming, composed, unbothered. But look closely, there's a vacancy in their eyes. That's not emotional healing, it's clever concealment. They're still running from feelings, from vulnerability, even from the parts of themselves that you once unknowingly revealed. Meanwhile, you might be peeking from afar, encouraged by their apparent stability. You might even think, maybe things will be different this time. But you don't see the emptiness they're masking. You hear them claim they're healed, but you can't feel the safety or warmth beneath those words. This is the moment you must ask yourself, are they truly growing or just hiding? Because if they haven't done the inner work, the pattern repeats. Withdrawal, false contentment surface, level reconnect, pull away. That's not progress, it's another cycle of emotional freeze. And here's the crucial truth. You deserve more. You deserve a relationship without illusions, a connection that invites you in, not demands you to prove your patience or hide your own depth. The distance you maintain is both a challenge and a revelation for them to stand honestly, and for you to recognize your worth in a relationship that goes both ways. As the false independence phase begins to fade, the avoidance buried emotions start to surface, often triggered by stress, a small crisis, or simply the exhaustion of maintaining emotional numbness. What they had suppressed with logic, work, and distraction now erupts into restlessness, sleepless nights, or vague emptiness. In these moments, you might notice their presence more subtly, watching your stories, reaching out through mutual friends, remembering your voice more than the actual words you said. This is when the comparison and awareness phase begins. They don't actively search for you, but your shadow remains vivid in their mind. In their new relationships, they feel the lack of emotional depth, no patience in silence, no keen insight into their guarded spaces, no intuitive courage that you once showed. They realize that you saw them truly, without masks. You created a safe container for them to reveal themselves without fear of leaving. That kind of connection isn't easy to find. They start comparing, was I ever this seen? Did someone understand me this deeply? The answer reverberates inside them. But they awaken to your absence. They can't fill the emptiness with distractions. They fear they have truly lost you, the one who was there and healed them without needing perfection. And with that realization comes the fear of permanent loss. Not fear of being alone, but fear that no one else could understand them as you did. When you are completely absent, they feel the weight of your absence deeply. You were not just an option, you were their measure of emotional connection. They no longer pretend to be strong. They fear that you might have left for good, and they don't know where to find you in a world without your presence. This fear of losing you leads them to covert protest behaviors, liking old posts, checking your stories, sending small messages like, "Hope you're well," or "Wondering if we could talk." Those soft attempts aren't demands, they're feelers. They're driven by fear. Though admitting that they truly feared losing you would require vulnerability they're not sure they can handle. This is the turning point between you, someone who has reclaimed self-respect, and them, a person struggling between grief, regret, and fear. The distance you hold isn't just letting them swim through their internal storm. It's reminding you what you truly deserve. Not a return to emotional limbo, but a return with depth, a presence that is willing to stand and grow, not run and hide. You don't seek a quick reconciliation via half-hearted messages. You deserve someone who can return and stay, someone who no longer runs when love calls for courage. When the fear of losing you becomes real, avoidants often fall into a state of deep regret. Their reactions are no longer subtle hints, but loud echoes of inner turmoil. Why didn't I appreciate them? Why couldn't I give love a chance? They begin to blame themselves for being weak, for rejecting a connection that could have healed them. But this is only the beginning. They stand before the mirror of their past choices, examining what they did. But it's not full self reflection, it's a conditional version. They say, "I messed up," without knowing how to do anything different. And it's easy for them to fall back into the narrative. "I'm just too cold. I can't love fully." So, they get stuck in regret, and sometimes, regret without action is just a passing emotion. From that regret arises another psychological response: idealization. They start remembering the moments you brought them peace, your patience, your understanding, your compassion. They exaggerate everything. You become the best version of yourself, no longer a real person with flaws. They rewrite the story in their mind. You were the only one who saw them, who accepted them even when they didn't open up. This idealization distorts an important truth. They forget their own shortcomings, the days you felt alone in their silence, the times their distance hurt you. They only remember the peace, the being seen. And at this point, they start to wonder, should I try again? And if you're not grounded, it's easy to be pulled back into a fantasy zone with no accountability and no guarantee of change. Here's your reminder. Idealization is not love, it's unhealed pain. It's a fantasy, not a real relationship. You deserve someone who sees all of you, your strengths and vulnerabilities, and still chooses to stay. Someone who remembers not only the calm, but the storms, and shows up to weather them with you. After the idealization phase, the avoidant often moves into a careful, delicate re-entry stage, what I call the gentle testing the waters. They don't storm back with grand declarations. Instead, they approach like soft ripples. They watch your stories multiple times, 7 ones posted days ago. They like your past posts, the curated moments that feel uniquely you. They send small messages like, "Hope you're doing well," or "I've been thinking about the old days, wishing you all the best." Behind these innocuous gestures is a subtle test. They're gauging your sensitivity and response. If you respond warmly, they gain confidence to continue. If you stay distant, they may retreat, fearing the door has closed. The goal isn't always reconnection, it's to test if you're still open. During this phase, you must remain firm in your self-respect. Don't jump to reply, but don't ghost them either. Each interaction deserves emotional clarity. Show you're present without needing to fix them. You can respond kindly, but resist the urge to explain, to re-establish yourself as their emotional anchor. And then, when your life has reached a level of stability, whether you've healed a little or recovered from your pain, avoidant will make their formal return. They don't come back when you're vulnerable. They return when they sense you've moved on. They show up when your absence creates a silent question. Is there still a path back to us? Here's what matters most. Their return doesn't equate to transformation. They came back because they saw what they were losing: you, a person who doesn't simply wait. That doesn't guarantee they've done the emotional work, grown, or learned to love with accountability. More importantly, your value does not depend on their return. If they come back with gentle overtures or casual small talk, remember, you deserve more. You deserve a relationship grounded in emotional maturity, transparency, and mutual responsibility, not one that reopens old patterns without repair. When they come back, it can feel like a powerful moment. Your heart races, hope floods in, and it's tempting to believe this time will be different. But that moment demands the clearest thinking of all. Because if they return without true transformation, you may find yourself trapped again in the familiar push-pull cycle. First, don't let the return fool you into believing things have changed. The biggest risk is false hope, assuming they've healed or matured. You might start ignoring subtle signs, replying faster, softening your boundaries, interpreting their actions in the best possible light. But if their behavior remains cold, inconsistent, or absent when you need them, you've climbed onto a bridge that may break again without warning. Second, without real inner work, their return is likely just an emotional flash fueled by fear, temporary loneliness, or crisis. And once that pressure subsides, if their core patterns are unchanged, they will pull away again. This time, the pain is deeper. You're not just wounded. You're disappointed and destabilized in your own capacity to trust. It's important to remember, they are stuck in their cycle, not you. They choose withdrawal for safety, not for love. And if you welcome them back without boundaries, you risk re-entering a dance where you give more, wait more, and are let down again. You deserve to see concrete transformations. Ongoing commitment. Are they initiating real conversation and planning with you? Consistent presence. Do they stay emotionally available and respond transparently? Action over words. Are they learning, listening, and showing up? No emotional manipulation. Are they avoiding the push-pull games? If any of these are missing, you're a participant in a new emotional loop, a game without rules you control, where your heart is on the line. But here's your greatest gift, the choice. You can decide to stop playing. You don't have to chase an undefined love. You don't have to diminish yourself to fit their fear-based timelines. You are strong enough to say, if you haven't truly changed, if this is just a test, I will maintain my distance. And that's not cold, that's sovereignty. It's the love you have for yourself, clear, firm, unnegated. And that's the truth. The avoidant may come back often when you're no longer there waiting, but their return isn't proof of profound love. It's the consequence of unresolved emotional conflict. You don't have to sit there wondering, will this time be different? The only difference that truly matters is how you invest your emotional energy. When you no longer sacrifice your well-being to be loved, when you stop playing the emotional caretaker for someone too afraid to take responsibility for their own heart. You deserve clarity, consistency, and effort. Avoidance may feel deeply, but feelings alone don't build relationships. Love without courage, maturity, and emotional accountability isn't sustainable. Their return might stir your heart. It might awaken old hope, but what you need is clarity. Are they returning as someone new, or just replaying an old cycle, hoping you'll play your old role? You can't control someone else's growth, but you can always choose what's enough for you. Don't let their return pull you off the path of healing. You've learned to breathe without them. Now choose from a place of strength, not scarcity. I'm Jim Rohn. Thank you for being here. If this video resonated with you, hit like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. You deserve a love that doesn't leave you questioning your worth. And sometimes, silence and distance are the greatest gifts you can give to both of you.